You have been told a lie so pervasive, so deeply ingrained in the fabric of your society and your upbringing, that it has become the very air you breathe. The lie is that you must strive. It tells you that life is a battleground, that your desires are fortresses to be conquered, and that you must fight, claw, beg, and bleed to prove your worthiness to receive them. You've been conditioned to believe that the door to your dreams is locked tight, and that only through endless blood, sweat, and tears can you pry it open. You look at your life and you see obstacles. You see lack. You see distance between where you are and where you want to be. And because you believe the lie, you pick up your weapons of worry and your shield of anxiety and you go to war with reality. You try to force doors open. You try to manipulate people. You try to coerce circumstances. And at the end of the day, you are exhausted, frustrated, and no closer to the peace you seek. But I am here to tell you tonight that this entire paradigm of struggle is a myth. It is a hallucination of the sleeping mind. The truth, the absolute spiritual truth that sits at the center of your being, is that you do not need to strive. You do not need to beg. You do not need to convince the world of your worth. The moment you assume your desire to be real, the moment you accept it in your imagination, you are walking through a door that no man can shut. This is the power of the unseen realm, the kingdom within you. What appears to be locked to the physical senses is already wide open in the spirit. And when you dare to believe in that unseen door, when you walk by inner sight instead of outer evidence, the universe responds not with resistance, but with flow. Let us go deeper into this concept of the open door. You perceive a problem in your life. Perhaps it is a lack of money, a broken relationship, or a health crisis. Your senses tell you that the door to the solution is closed. You look for the key in the physical world. You work harder, you worry more, you strategize and plan and panic, but you are looking in the wrong direction. The door is not closed. It only appears closed because you are looking at it through the lens of fear. In the realm of the I am, in the realm of your true identity, there are no closed doors. Every desire you have is a promise of fulfillment. The very fact that you can desire something is proof that it already exists for you. You would not be able to imagine it if it were not already a reality in the fourth dimension. The struggle arises because you are trying to do the work of the spirit with the tools of the flesh. You are trying to move mountains with a teaspoon. You are trying to change the reflection in the mirror by shouting at the glass. This is why you are tired. This is why you feel the weight of the world on your shoulders. You were never meant to carry that weight. You were never created to be anxious, troubled, or tossed about like a ship in a storm. You were formed in the image of peace. You were fashioned out of stillness. You were designed to operate from a place of divine assurance. The struggle is not a sign of your virtue. It is a sign of your forgetfulness. Worry is born out of forgetfulness. It is spiritual amnesia. When you worry, you have forgotten who you are. You have forgotten your source. You have forgotten that you are not a tiny, isolated ego fighting for survival in a hostile universe. You are the operant power. You are the creative force of God expressing itself in human form. When you remember this, worry begins to dissolve like mist before the morning sun. You realize that you do not have to fix it. You do not have to solve it. You do not have to push it. Life unfolds through assumption, not effort. God is not asking you to figure it out. God is asking you to rest in what already is. Imagine for a moment that you are a king or a queen who has temporarily forgotten your royalty. You find yourself in the marketplace, begging for bread, fighting with other beggars for a place to sleep. You struggle and strive because you believe you are a beggar. But then, a messenger comes and reminds you of your true name. You remember the palace. You remember the treasury. In that instant of remembrance, do you continue to beg? Do you continue to fight for scraps? No. You stand up. You brush off the dust. You walk with dignity. The struggle ends not because the world changed, but because your concept of yourself changed. You realize that the door to the palace was never locked. You just forgot you had the key. This is what we mean when we say stop begging and start commanding. We are not talking about arrogance. We are talking about alignment. You cannot beg for what is already yours. To beg implies you do not have it. To beg implies it is being withheld from you by a power outside of yourself, but there is no power outside of yourself. The only power is the I am within. When you beg, you are affirming lack. You are telling the universe, I am poor, I am needy, I am separate. And the universe, being a faithful mirror, reflects that lack back to you. The more you struggle to get, the more you push it away. This is the irony of the myth of struggle. The harder you try to force a result, the more you validate the absence of that result. You must understand that the universe is not reluctant to bless you. You do not have to twist the arm of God. God is not a distant deity sitting on a cloud, checking a list to see if you have struggled enough to deserve a reward. God is the presence within you, your own wonderful human imagination, and this presence wants to give you the kingdom. In fact, it has already given you the kingdom. It is your good pleasure to give you the kingdom. The door is already open. The way is already made. But you cannot walk through it until you see it within. You cannot enter the promise until you trust it within. You cannot experience the relief until you accept it as already done. To stop struggling is to stop resisting. It is to stop doubting that what you desire is yours. You stop struggling when you stop looking at appearances and start listening to the still small voice within. That voice does not shout. It does not panic. It says, all is well. It declares the end from the beginning. It knows the answer before the question ever forms on your lips. This voice is drowned out by the noise of your struggle. As long as you are running around in a panic, trying to force solutions, you cannot hear the guidance that is trying to lead you to the open door. You say you trust God, but let us be honest. Trust is not a word you say. It is a feeling you embody. It is an inner conviction. Trust is quiet confidence in the invisible. Trust is the refusal to be moved by what your senses tell you. If you say you trust, but you are up all night pacing the floor, you do not trust. You are hoping, but you are not trusting. Trust is the awareness that the thing you want is already yours, because you saw it within, and having seen it within, having felt it as real, you know it must take form without. When you have this kind of trust, the struggle evaporates. You move from the energy of trying to get to the energy of receiving. Every time you struggle, every time you worry, you are imagining something you do not want. Imagination is the workshop of reality. It is the womb of creation. If you use your imagination against yourself, do not be surprised when fear becomes your experience. When you struggle, you are visualizing obstacles. You are emotionally rehearsing failure. You are building a wall between you and your desire with every anxious thought. But if you learn to imagine only the good, only the lovely, only the fulfilled desire, then the struggle fades. You realize that the battle was never out there in the world. The battle was always in your own mind. It was a battle between the old man who believes in limits and the new man who knows his limitlessness. This is not about pretending. We are not asking you to put on a fake smile while you are trembling inside. That is repression, not transformation. We are talking about reconditioning your inner world. We are talking about persistently assuming that the answer is done. This requires a shift in focus. You must take your eyes off the closed door of appearance and fix them on the open door of reality. The closed door is a shadow. The open door is the substance. When you focus on the substance, the shadow must disappear. You walk through life not as someone hoping things will work out, but as one who knows they already have. Consider the lilies of the field. They do not toil, they do not spin, they do not struggle to bloom. They do not hold meetings about how to grow. They simply surrender to the life force within them, and they are clothed in glory. You are greater than the lilies. Why do you think you need to toil and spin? Why do you think you need to manipulate and force? It is because you believe you are separate from the source of your supply. You believe you are an orphan, but you are not an orphan. You are the heir. The struggle is the behavior of an orphan. The command is the behavior of the heir. To command reality does not mean you boss people around. It means you command your own consciousness. You command your attention. You forbid your mind from dwelling on the unwanted. You command your feelings to align with the wish fulfilled. This is the only command that matters. When you command your inner world, the outer world obeys. The door that seemed locked suddenly swings open. The person who blocked your path suddenly steps aside or offers you a hand. The money that was nowhere to be found suddenly appears from an unexpected source. These are not miracles in the sense of breaking the laws of nature. They are the natural operation of the higher law, the law of assumption. When worry rises, treat it as a signal. It is an alarm clock waking you up from the dream of struggle. It is telling you that you have drifted. Come back. Return to the inner sanctuary. Return to the vision. Assume the feeling of the answer and stay there. Dwell there. Live there. For it is in that sacred dwelling place that all things are added unto you, not by might, not by struggle, but by alignment. You stop struggling not by force, but by focus. By deliberately choosing again and again to feel as if it is already done, to trust that what you hold in consciousness must clothe itself in form. You were not created to live by survival instincts. You are not an animal in the wild fighting for scraps. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. You were imagined into existence by a mind that only knows love, certainty, and infinite supply. That idea that you must worry in order to be responsible, that you must be anxious to prove you care, is a lie. It is a cultural virus. You must immunize yourself against it. The most responsible thing you can do is to remain in a state of peace and faith, because from that state, you can actually be of service. From that state, you create solutions. From the state of struggle, you only create more problems. The truth is far more powerful and far more simple than you have been led to believe. You were created to rest in the knowing. Rest does not mean lethargy. It does not mean doing nothing. It means acting from a place of peace rather than panic. It means your actions are inspired, not forced. When you walk through the open door, you are still walking. You are still moving. But the quality of the movement is different. It is graceful. It is fluid. It is effective. The struggle creates friction. Assumption creates flow. Every time you choose to struggle, you are stepping outside your divine nature. You are entertaining a state of mind that contradicts the truth of who you are. Struggle suggests that you are alone, that there is no divine orchestration, that what you desire may not come. But none of that is real. It is a nightmare you are dreaming. Wake up. The door is open. The feast is prepared. The invitation is in your hand. The only thing keeping you outside is your belief that you are unworthy to enter. Drop that belief. Drop the heavy stone of unworthiness. It serves no one. It does not serve God, and it certainly does not serve you. You have the power to return to stillness. You have the power to return to truth. You have the power to let go of control and rest in the divine rhythm of your life. Let yourself be held. Let yourself be led. You are not created to carry everything. You were created to see the end from the beginning, to walk by inner vision, and to trust that what you see within must come to pass. This is the glorious liberty of the children of God. It is the freedom from the tyranny of secondary causes. You no longer blame the economy. You no longer blame the government. You no longer blame your upbringing. You realize that you are the cause. And if you are the cause, you can change the effect without struggle. So look at the closed door in your life right now. Look at the problem that is causing you so much pain, and speak to it. Say to it, you have no power over me. You are a shadow. The reality is the open door. Close your eyes and see the door opening. Feel the relief of walking through. Feel the freedom on the other side. Stay in that feeling. Do not let the senses drag you back. If you persist in this, if you refuse to return to the myth of struggle, you will see the walls of your prison crumble. You will see the iron bars dissolve like smoke. You will realize that you were never trapped. You were only mesmerized by the illusion of the lock. The open door is your birthright. No man can shut it. No circumstance can block it. Only you can turn away from it. But today, you are turning toward it. You are putting down the weapons of war and picking up the instruments of peace. You are trading your anxiety for assurance. You are trading your begging for commanding. You are stepping out of the myth and into the masterclass. You are ready to walk through. The struggle is over. The victory is already won. Walk in it, live in it, be it. To walk through the open door, we must first understand what has been keeping us paralyzed on the threshold. We must dissect the two most powerful forces in the human psyche, worry and trust. Most people believe that worry is a natural, even responsible reaction to life, while trust is a passive, fragile hope that things might work out. But I tell you now that both are active spiritual forces. Both are forms of imagination. One is imagination used as a weapon against yourself, and the other is imagination used as a bridge to the divine. To stop worrying and start trusting is not a matter of willpower, it is a matter of understanding the anatomy of your own mind. You must realize that worry is not your natural state. It is a biological and spiritual error. It is the misuse of the very creative power that was given to you to build worlds. Let us look closely at the anatomy of worry. What is worry, really? At its core, worry is the act of projecting into the future something you do not want, and then emotionally preparing to receive it. It is a rehearsal for a tragedy that has not yet been written. When you worry, you are taking the sacred gift of your imagination and you are painting a masterpiece of failure. You are seeing the bank account empty. You are hearing the doctor give the bad news. You are feeling the sting of the rejection. And because imagination is the workshop of reality, you are actually building the very thing you fear. Worry is faith in reverse. It is the absolute conviction that the worst will happen. It is a prayer to the god of lack. Worry is born out of forgetfulness. It is the symptom of a mind that has forgotten its source. When you worry, you are essentially declaring that you are alone in a hostile universe. You are saying that there is no divine orchestration, that your supply is limited, and that you must figure everything out with your tiny, finite brain. But your brain was never designed to be the source of your life. It was designed to be the receiver of your vision. When you try to make the brain the source, you create friction. That friction is what you feel as anxiety. It is the sound of a machine being used for a purpose it was never intended for. You are not a survival machine. You are a creative presence. Contrast this with the anatomy of trust. Many speak of trust as if it were a weak, passive word. They say, "I trust God," with a sigh of resignation, as if they are giving up. But real trust is the most active, powerful state a human being can inhabit. Trust is not a word you say, it is a state of being. It is an inner agreement with the divine that the end is already secure. Trust is silent. It does not argue with appearances. It does not demand evidence before it rests. Trust is the quiet confidence that the outcome is already finished because you have seen it and felt it in the only place that matters, within yourself. To trust is to rest, not the rest of laziness, but the rest of divine assurance. Think of a seed planted in the ground. Does the gardener dig up the seed every 10 minutes to see if it is growing? No, the gardener trusts the laws of nature. He knows that once the seed is planted and the conditions are right, the growth is inevitable. He goes about his day in peace because he trusts the unseen process. Worry is the act of digging up the seed because you are afraid the soil isn't working. Trust is the act of leaving the seed alone and knowing that the harvest is already on its way. You must realize that your imagination is always at work. It never sleeps. It is a 24-hour factory producing the circumstances of your life. Every thought you think and every feeling you entertain is a command to this factory. When you spend your day worrying, you are handing the factory a blueprint for disaster. You are saying, "Build me more of this lack. Build me more of this conflict." And the factory, being the perfect servant of your I am, begins to manufacture those circumstances. But when you shift into trust, you are handing the factory a blueprint of fulfillment. You are saying, "It is done. All is well." And even if the outer world still shows you the old problems, the factory has already begun to shift its production toward your new vision. Trust is also the refusal to be moved by what your senses tell you. This is where the mastery lies. The world will show you contradictions. Your senses will scream that things are not working. The mail will bring bills. The phone will remain silent. The body will still feel the pain. If you walk by sight, you will always be tossed about like a ship in a storm. Your emotions will rise and fall with every piece of news. But trust does not live by the senses. Trust lives by the inner eye. It feels the truth of what is coming even when it cannot yet be touched. The one who trusts is like a man who has a secret fortune in the bank. He may walk through the market with no cash in his pocket, but he is not a beggar. He carries himself with the poise of wealth, because he knows what is in the bank. Your imagination is that bank. Trust is the knowledge that the funds are already there. Why is it so hard to stop worrying? It is because worry has been disguised as responsibility. We have been taught that if we don't worry, we don't care. We think that by being anxious, we are somehow working on the problem. But worry has never solved a single problem in the history of humanity. It only drains your energy and clouds your vision. It makes you reactive instead of creative. When you are in a state of panic, you cannot hear the still, small voice of intuition that is trying to guide you to the open door. Worry is the noise that drowns out the divine signal. Trust is the silence that allows the signal to be heard. There is a profound logic to trust. If you believe that you are an expression of the infinite, and that the infinite is all-wise and all-powerful, then why would you ever worry? To worry is to insult the divinity within you. It is to say that God doesn't know what he is doing. It is to say that the law of assumption is a lie. But the law is not a lie. It is as exact as the law of gravity. What you hold in consciousness must clothe itself in form. This is not a guess. It is an absolute spiritual certainty. When you truly grasp this, worry becomes not only unnecessary but absurd. It is like worrying that the sun won't rise or that water won't be wet. Let us look at the transition from worry to trust as a reconditioning of the mind. You have practiced worry for decades. It has become a habit, a groove in your brain. To shift into trust, you must be as persistent as the worry once was. When a fearful thought enters your mind, do not fight it. Fighting only gives it more energy. Instead, observe it and say, that is an old thought. That belongs to the man who forgot his power. But I remember now. And you deliberately shift your attention back to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You do this 100 times a day if you have to. You are retrained. You are teaching your nervous system that it is safe to be at peace. Consider the story of a sailor in a storm. If he watches the waves, he will be filled with terror. The waves are high, the wind is loud, and the ship is small. But if he fixes his eyes on the North Star, he finds his direction. The North Star does not move. It is the fixed point in a turning world. Your inner vision, your assumed state of fulfillment, is your North Star. The world of appearances is the sea. The waves of the 3D world may be crashing, but as long as you keep your inner sight fixed on the North Star of your desired end, you will navigate through the storm. Trust is the act of keeping your hand on the rudder and your eyes on the star, regardless of how loud the wind blows. Worry distorts your spiritual vision. It is like looking through a cracked and dirty lens. Everything looks threatening. Everything looks like a crisis. But when you clean the lens with trust, the truth is revealed. You begin to see that the obstacles were actually stepping stones. You see that the delays were divine protection. You see that the no from man was actually a not this way from God. You begin to see the invisible hand of grace moving through your life. This is the place of divine remembrance, the place where you begin to feel your true self again, not the self defined by effort and external evidence, but the self that knows the truth by feeling it. You were not designed to live reactively. You were designed to live imaginatively. Worry makes you reactive. It convinces you that the outer world determines your fate. It makes you a puppet, dancing to the tune of circumstances. But you were never meant to respond to circumstances as if they are your master. You were created to rule over them. You were created to rise above appearances and bring forth the unseen into the seen through the power of inner conviction. When you worry, you step into a false identity. You become the orphan. But when you trust, you return to the palace. You return to the knowing that you are backed by an eternal promise. Trust also means letting go of the timeline. This is one of the greatest sources of worry, the question of when. We assume that if it hasn't happened yet, It isn't happening. But the subconscious mind works in ways we cannot comprehend. It is arranging 1,000 details behind the scenes. It is moving people, changing minds, and creating paths that your conscious mind could never imagine. When you demand to know the timing, you are signaling that you do not trust the process. You are like a child in the back seat of a car asking, "Are we there yet?" every 2 minutes. Trust says, "I know we are going to the destination, and the journey is part of the plan." Trust allows the process to unfold without panic. It understands that divine timing is never late. There is a profound story of a master who was once caught in a violent storm at sea. While everyone else was screaming and praying for mercy, the master was asleep. When they woke him in a panic, he looked at the storm and then looked at them and asked, "Where is your faith?" He didn't ask, "Why is the storm so big?" He asked why their inner state was so small. He knew that the outer storm was only a reflection of their inner turmoil. He spoke to the storm from a place of absolute inner stillness, and the waves obeyed. This is the goal, to be so anchored in trust that the outer world has no choice but to mirror your inner calm. You cultivate this trust by returning again and again to the feeling of completion. You stop waiting for something to happen out there, and you begin to feel it has already happened within you. This is the signature of trust, the shift from future to present. You stop saying, "It will happen," and you start saying, "It is done." You refer to your desire not as a dream, but as a current reality. You say, "I am already healed. I am already abundant. I am already home." You say it not to make it true, but because in the realm of the spirit, it is already true. Trust is the recognition of a finished fact. When you walk in this kind of trust, you become a magnet for miracles. Not because you are special, but because you have aligned with the law. Fear is a repellent. Trust is an attraction. When you are in a state of worry, you are vibrating at a frequency that is incompatible with your desire. You are literally pushing it away. But when you are in a state of trust, you are the perfect match for your fulfillment. You move through the world with ease. You speak with a different tone. You make decisions from a place of abundance rather than lack. And the world responds to this new version of you. This is the anatomy of your transformation. You must consciously choose to dismantle the machinery of worry and build the altar of trust. You must be loyal to your vision. You must be faithful to the unseen. Do not let the chatter of the world or the doubts of your own mind pull you away from your throne. You are the king. You are the queen. The kingdom of your life is a reflection of your inner state. If the kingdom is in disarray, do not blame the subjects. Look at the ruler. Look at the state of your trust. Tonight, as you lie in the quiet, I want you to feel the weight of worry leaving your body. Visualize it as a dark, heavy mist that you are breathing out. And as you breathe in, visualize trust as a golden, steady light filling your chest. Feel the relief of not having to figure it out. Feel the freedom of knowing that the way is already made. You are not a seeker, you are a finder. You are not a beggar, you are an heir. The anatomy of worry is the anatomy of the old man. The anatomy of trust is the anatomy of the God within you. Choose the God, choose the peace, choose the trust. For as you believe, so shall it be. The storm may continue for a moment longer on the outside, but inside, the sea is glass. And because the sea is glass within you, the outer world must eventually become still to match your inner peace. Trust the process, trust the vision. Trust your own wonderful I am. It is finished, all is well. You are safe, you are led, you are already there. We have dissected the anatomy of worry and trust, and you now understand that your internal state is the only cause of your external world. But the question that remains is the most practical one of all. How do we stay in that state of trust when the world demands our attention? How do we move from the person who is looking at the door to the person who has already walked through it? The answer lies in the most profound technique ever gifted to humanity. A technique that is the very heart of this masterclass. Living from the end. This is the sacred assumption. It is the ability to stand in the present moment, surrounded by the old shadows of lack, and dare to feel the reality of the wish already fulfilled. It is not about thinking of your desire, it is about thinking from your desire. This shift in preposition is the difference between a lifetime of seeking and a lifetime of possessing. Most people live their lives in a state of perpetual becoming. They are always on their way to happiness. They are always just one promotion, one relationship, or one breakthrough away from feeling successful. They live in the middle. They have a desire, and then they focus all their energy on the gap between the wish and its fulfillment. This gap is a wasteland of how, when, and what if. But you were never meant to live in the middle. You were created to begin at the end. To live from the end means to move your awareness into the reality where what you desire has already come to pass. You go there in your imagination. You settle there. You breathe there, and you refuse to leave. You do not wait for the physical world to change before you feel the relief. You feel the relief first, and then the world must rearrange itself to match your internal reality. This is the sacred art of assumption. It is the quiet power that shapes mountains and parts seas, not by physical force, but by spiritual alignment. You must understand that an assumption, though false to the senses, if persisted in, will harden into fact. This is a law of your being. It is not a guess or a gamble. It is a spiritual certainty. When you assume the state of the answered prayer, you are occupying the mind of the fulfilled desire. You are no longer praying toward a goal. You are speaking from a victory. The difference is monumental. When you think toward a goal, you are reinforcing the fact that you do not have it. You are vibrating with the energy of lack. But when you think from the goal, you are vibrating with the energy of possession. And the universe, being a faithful mirror, responds only to the energy of possession. Imagine for a moment a house that you long to own. The old way of thinking would be to look at the house from the street, longing to be inside, wondering how you will ever afford it. This is thinking of the house. But the sacred assumption invites you to enter the house in your imagination. Do not look at the door, walk through it. Feel the weight of the key in your hand. Hear the sound of the door closing behind you, shutting out the world of lack. Feel the texture of the carpet beneath your feet. Walk from room to room. Smell the wood of the furniture. Sit on the sofa and feel the deep, satisfied relief of being home. You are not trying to get the house. You are being the owner of the house. You stay in that state until it takes on all the tones of reality. When you open your physical eyes and see your old apartment, you do not let it move you. You say to yourself, "This is just a shadow. My reality is the house I just inhabited." This is what it means to be a resident of your desire, not a guest. A guest visits for a short time and then leaves. A resident moves in, unpacks their bags, and makes the place their home. Many of you visit your desires in meditation for 10 minutes and then spend the rest of the day residing in the old state of lack. You wonder why the manifestation is delayed. It is because you are not living from the end. You are just glancing at it. To live from the end requires a discipline of attention. You must watch where your mind goes throughout the day. When it slips back into the old middle state of wondering how it will happen, you must gently but firmly return it to the end. You must say to yourself, "I do not need to know how. It is already done. I am already there." Living from the end is a form of spiritual time travel. You are bringing the future into the now. In the realm of the spirit, time is an illusion. Every possibility already exists. The version of you that is successful is not a future event. It is a present reality in a different dimension of your consciousness. By assuming the feeling of that success now, you are collapsing the timeline. You are bringing that 4D reality into 3D form. This is not denial of the world. It is the assertion of a higher truth. You are refusing to accept that the current evidence is final. You are being loyal to your inner vision. And this loyalty is what draws the desire to you. Life is not withholding from you. It is only waiting for your assumption to match the promise. Consider the act of breathing. You do not struggle to breathe. You do not worry about where the next breath will come from. You assume that the air is there and you simply receive it. This is how the wish fulfilled should feel. It should feel natural. It should feel easy. It should feel like a concluded fact. Neville Goddard often spoke about the feeling of naturalness. If your desire feels too big or too good to be true, you have not yet assumed it. You are still looking at it from the outside. You must stay in the state until it becomes your new normal. You must stay there until you can think of your desire without a heart palpitation of excitement, but with a quiet, steady breath of course. When the inner state is natural, the outer manifestation is inevitable. This technique transforms your entire identity. You are no longer the person who is trying to get wealthy. You are the version of yourself who is already abundant. You think like them. You move like them. You respond to life like them. If a person who is truly wealthy encounters a minor financial setback, they do not panic. They know their wealth is a state of being, not just a number. They remain calm. To live from the end, you must adopt that same calmness. You must stop reacting from fear and start responding from alignment. You are no longer being tossed about by the waves of circumstance because you are anchored in the end. This inner embodiment is the magnetic frequency that draws the outer reflection. Let us look at the story of the master and the servant. The servant is always busy, always rushing, always trying to fulfill the orders of others. The master is still. The master speaks a word, and it is done. The master does not need to know how the servants will fulfill the task. He only knows that his word is law. When you live from the end, you are the master. Your assumption is the decree. Your subconscious mind is the servant that works in ways you cannot comprehend to bring the decree into form. But if the master starts rushing around, trying to help the servant, he creates chaos. He signals that he does not trust his own authority. Your only job is to stay on the throne of the end. Stay in the feeling. The how is a servant that does not need your interference. Why is the how so dangerous? Because the how is the domain of the limited human brain. Your brain can only calculate based on what it has seen in the past. It looks at your current skills, your current connections, and your current environment, and it says, this is impossible. But the divine intelligence within you has access to infinite ways and means. It can move people across oceans. It can create coincidences that look like miracles. It can open doors that were never there before. When you obsess over the how, you are trying to squeeze an infinite God through a finite straw. You are limiting the manifestation to your own small understanding. Let go of the how. Release the when. Only the what belongs to you. The what is the end. Dwell there and let the universe surprise you with its elegance. Living from the end also means you stop seeking signs. This is a trap that many fall into. They say, I will believe it is working when I see a sign. But seeking a sign is a confession that you do not yet believe it is done. If you already had $1 million in your bank account, you would not be looking for signs of wealth. You would just be living your life. The desire for a sign is the energy of not having. To live from the end means you are the sign. Your peace is the sign. Your stillness is the evidence. You do not need the world to confirm what you have already confirmed within yourself. And the irony is, the moment you stop needing a sign, signs will follow you everywhere. They follow, they do not precede. This practice requires you to be more loyal to your imagination than to your eyes. It is a form of spiritual obstinacy. When you walk through the world, you must see what you want to see, not what is presented to you. If you see a closed door, you mentally walk through it. If you see an empty seat, you mentally see your partner sitting there. You are constantly overlapping your inner reality onto the outer world. You are like an architect who sees the finished skyscraper while others see only a muddy lot. The architect is not lying. He is seeing a deeper truth. He knows that the building is already finished in the blueprint, and the physical construction is just a formality. Your imagination is the blueprint. The physical world is the construction site. Do not be disturbed by the mud. Focus on the blueprint. To live from the end is to live in a state of constant thank you. Gratitude is the hallmark of the person who has already received. You do not thank God for what you hope to get. You thank God for what you have. When you say thank you for your answered prayer before it has appeared in the physical, you are performing the most powerful act of faith possible. You are declaring that the unseen is more real than the seen. You are sealing the assumption. This gratitude is not a ritual. It is a vibration. It is the frequency of fulfillment. It creates a vacuum in your life that the universe must fill with the object of your gratitude. Gratitude is the bridge between the inner vision and the outer form. As you move through your day, ask yourself this question frequently. How would I feel right now if my desire were a reality? If you are waiting for a phone call, do not wait with anxiety. Ask, how would I feel if the call had already happened and the news was perfect? You would feel a deep sense of relief. You would feel a lightness in your chest. You would probably be thinking about what to do next. Capture that lightness. Dwell in that relief. Do not just do it once. Make it your default state. This is not about a 5-minute meditation. It is about a 4-hour lifestyle. You are reweaving the very fabric of your consciousness. There is no power in waiting. Waiting is the energy of the beggar. The beggar stands at the gate, waiting for someone to open it. The king is already inside, enjoying the feast. If you find yourself waiting for your manifestation, you have stepped out of the end and back into the middle. You have picked up the heavy stone of struggle again. Drop it. Immediately return to the end. Realize that there is nowhere to go because you are already there. There is nothing to wait for because it is already done. This shift collapses time. Time is the distance between your current state and the state you desire. When you assume the state you desire, the distance becomes zero. The time disappears. Living from the end is the ultimate act of self-love. It is the refusal to let yourself live in a state of lack for one more second. You are telling yourself that you deserve to feel fulfilled now. You are not making your happiness conditional on an external event. You are claiming your joy as your birthright. And when you are happy and fulfilled now, you become a magnet for more happiness and more fulfillment. The world can only give you what you already are. If you are a person who is seeking, the world gives you more reasons to seek. If you are a person who has, the world gives you more reasons to have. This is the law of the universe. As we move toward the next part of this masterclass, I want you to anchor this feeling of the wish fulfilled deep into your nervous system. Do not just hear these words with your mind, feel them with your heart. The door is not just open. You are already on the other side. You are not knocking, you are feasting. You are not begging, you are commanding. The struggle is over. The how is handled. The when is now. The what is yours. This is the sacred assumption. It is the breath of God within you, claiming its own. Carry this state with you as you walk, as you speak, as you eat, and as you sleep. Let the world think what it will. Let the senses scream their lies. You know the truth. You have seen the end. You have felt the reality. And having seen and felt it, you have become it. You are the embodiment of your answered prayer. And as you persist in this assumption, you will see the walls of the physical world begin to bend. You will see the shadows dissipate. You will see the impossible become your daily reality. Not because you fought for it, but because you had the courage to assume it. You have walked through the door. Stay there. It is yours. It is done. It is finished. Before we proceed to discover how to use peace as your ultimate spiritual weapon, take a brief moment to anchor this experience. If these words are resonating with the truth of your soul, I invite you to like this video and subscribe to our channel. By doing so, you are not just supporting a creator, you are making a conscious decision to stay in the frequency of your higher self. Join our community of awakened masters who have decided to stop begging and start commanding. Now, let us return to the silence and learn how to maintain this state even when the world around you is in chaos. We have established that the struggle is a myth and that living from the end is the only way to manifest your true desires. But now we must address the reality of your daily walk. You leave this sanctuary of thought and you step out into a world that is loud, demanding, and often contradictory to your vision. You will encounter people who doubt you. You will face deadlines that seem impossible. You will see news that triggers fear. In these moments, the old self wants to pick up the weapons of worry. It wants to fight, to argue, and to panic. But I am here to teach you a different strategy. I want to show you that peace is not just a pleasant feeling or a reward for when things go well. Peace is a weapon. It is a tool of spiritual dominance. It is the highest form of power under control. When you are at peace in the midst of a storm, you are not being passive. You are demonstrating your mastery over the illusion. You are proving that you are anchored in a reality that the world cannot touch. The world has taught you a profound lie about peace. It has told you that peace is a luxury for the lucky or a retreat for the weak. It has convinced you that if you are not worrying, you are not being responsible. You have been shamed into believing that anxiety is a sign of how much you care. But this is a lie passed down through generations of forgetfulness. Worry is not responsibility. It is a leak in your creative power. Anxiety is not caring. It is the misuse of your imagination to build a prison for yourself. True responsibility is staying in a state of peace, because only from peace can you actually govern your world. Only from peace can you hear the subtle nudges of the divine that lead you to your open door. When you are in a state of panic, you are blind and deaf to the bridges of incident that are forming around you. But when you pick up the weapon of peace, you clear the field. You sharpen your spiritual vision. You become a master of the moment rather than its victim. Think of peace as a shield of light. When the 3D world throws a challenge at you, it is an invitation to leave your throne of the wish fulfilled. It is a trap designed to draw you back into the myth of struggle. If you react with fear, you have laid down your shield and surrendered your power. You have agreed with the shadow. But if you respond with a deep, unshakable peace, the arrows of circumstance simply dissolve upon contact. They cannot penetrate the atmosphere of the one who knows the end. This is what it means to be still and know that I am God. It is the recognition that nothing outside of you has any power over you unless you grant it permission through your own consciousness. Peace is the refusal to grant that permission. It is the declaration that your inner vision is the only law and the only truth. Let us explore the story of the storm from a deeper perspective. Imagine a ship tossed about by violent waves. The wind is howling, and the crew is screaming in terror because they believe they are at the mercy of the elements. They are looking at the appearances, and they are concluding that death is inevitable. But in the midst of this chaos, the master is asleep. This sleep is not a sign of laziness or indifference. It is a demonstration of absolute spiritual authority. The master is at peace because he is not identified with the storm. He is identified with the stillness. When he is awakened, he does not argue with the wind. He does not beg the waves to stop. He simply speaks from his own internal atmosphere of peace and says, "Peace, be still." And the outer world must obey the inner command. This is the weapon you carry. Your internal atmosphere determines the outer climate. If you are in turmoil within, the world will reflect turmoil back to you. But if you are a mountain of peace within, the storm around you has no choice but to subside. This peace is not born from logic or earthly reasoning. It is born from spiritual awareness. It comes from the profound realization that life is not happening to you, it is flowing from you. You realize that there are no accidents and no random setbacks. Even the delays are divine. Even the detours are orchestrated by a higher mind to lead you to a better result than you could have planned for yourself. When you understand this, you stop fighting the moment. You stop trying to escape what is, and you begin to cooperate with it. You realize that even if a door closes in the physical world, it is only because a much larger gate is opening in the spiritual world. Peace is the calm assurance that what you have committed to in consciousness is already working itself out in form. You do not need to see the mechanism to trust the result. Most people seek peace through external change. They think if they could just get a new job, or a healed body, or more money, then they would finally be at peace. But lasting peace never comes from conditions. Conditions are shifting sands. If your peace is based on your bank balance, it will vanish with a market crash. If your peace is based on someone's opinion of you, it will vanish with a single word of criticism. You must reverse the order. You must be peaceful in the unseen before the seen can reflect it. You must carry peace into your imagination, into your assumptions, and most importantly, into your conversations with yourself. Peace must become your new emotional home. You must live there, not just visit it on Sundays or in meditation. When peace becomes your lens, the entire world transforms. You stop seeing threats and you start seeing opportunities. You stop seeing enemies and you start seeing mirrors. There is a great wisdom in silence that the world of struggle cannot comprehend. When you no longer react, when you no longer defend yourself against every perceived slight, you are making room for grace to enter. You are making room for the solutions to rise from the depths of your own being. The noise of worry is like static on a radio. It drowns out the divine instruction that is constantly broadcasting to you. But peace is a listening posture. It is a state of profound receptivity. It says, I do not have to know everything. I only have to be still enough to hear what is mine to know in this moment. In that stillness, wisdom comes not through effort, but through surrender. You are no longer acting from fear, but from alignment. And alignment is the only force that truly moves the needle of reality. Consider the metaphor of the tree planted by the river. The wind blows and the seasons change. There may be droughts and there may be floods, but the tree remains unmoved. It does not panic when the leaves fall. It does not worry when the rain stops for a season. Its roots go deep into the source of life. It knows that it is supported by a subterranean supply that the world cannot see. You are that tree. Your roots are your assumptions. If your roots are shallow and based on appearances, the wind of a single bad news will pull you up. But if your roots go deep into the I am, into the stillness of the open door, you are invincible. You are grounded in the knowing that you are eternal and your supply is infinite. Worry is the sign of a shallow root system. Peace is the sign of a soul that has found the river. You must also realize that you cannot carry peace and fear at the same time. They are two different frequencies, like oil and water. You must choose which voice to listen to in every moment. Fear is loud, urgent, and demanding. It says, it is too late. What if it fails? You are in danger. Peace is quiet, steady, and certain. It says, it is right on time. It is already done. You are safe. Fear tries to protect you by imagining all the ways you might suffer, but it only creates the suffering it fears. Peace protects you by reminding you that nothing real can be lost and nothing unreal can be threatened. Every time a fearful thought arises, you have a choice. You can pick up the heavy weight of the struggle, or you can pick up the weapon of peace. The more you choose peace, the easier it becomes. You are reconditioning your nervous system to operate from a higher plane. We often talk about living in the end, but you cannot live in the end if you are in a state of turmoil. If you are the person who already has the wealth, the health, and the love, you are naturally at peace. You are not checking the clock. You are not counting the days. You are not comparing your journey to another person's. You have the quiet satisfaction of the answered prayer. Therefore, peace is the ultimate proof that you are actually living in the end. If you are anxious, you have stepped out of the end and back into the middle. You are back in the wasteland of how and when. When you feel that tension rise, do not condemn yourself. Just use it as a compass. Use it to realize you have drifted. Take a deep breath and return to the silence. Return to the weapon of peace. Say to yourself, this noise is not my truth. I am the stillness. I am the result. All is well. There is a profound psychological shift that happens when you commit to peace. You stop judging what happens as good or bad. You stop resisting the process. You start to realize that even when things seem to be falling apart, they are actually falling into place. A door closing is not a rejection. It is a redirection. A silence from a person is not abandonment. It is space for you to grow your own inner certainty. When you are no longer at the mercy of appearances, you become the commander of them. You walk slower. You breathe deeper. You speak less, but your words carry the weight of a decree. You become a presence that calms others just by being in the room. This is because you are no longer a reactor, you are a creator. I want you to consider the what-if reversal. The mind of worry is a master of the negative what-if. What if I lose my job? What if they leave me? What if it never happens? This is the anatomy of a self-fulfilling prophecy of lack. But from the fortress of peace, you can use this same mental faculty for your benefit. What if everything is already working out for me behind the scenes? What if the timing is already perfect, and I just can't see the full tapestry yet? What if the door is already open in the unseen realm, and all I need to do is keep walking in this feeling of peace until I arrive? When you ask these questions from a state of calm, you are literally reweaving the atoms of your future. You are shifting the trajectory of your reality from the basement of survival to the penthouse of fulfillment. This peace is not a reward for getting everything right. It is the soil from which right action grows. You must begin with peace. You must become still within before the outer chaos can subside. This is the divine law of cause and effect. Most people want the effect to change so they can feel the cause of peace. But the Master establishes the cause of peace, so the effect of harmony must follow. It is a radical act of sovereignty. It is saying to the universe, I do not care what the evidence shows. I am at peace because I know who I am. I know that my imagination is the only reality, and my imagination has already seen the victory. When you stand in that conviction, reality has no choice but to bend. It may take a moment for the mirror to catch up, but the image is already set. As you move through the rest of this masterclass and into your 2 one-day covenant, treat peace as your primary metric of success. Do not measure your progress by how much money has arrived or how many people have called you. Measure your progress by how still you can remain when those things haven't happened yet. Measure your progress by the speed with which you can return to peace after a trigger. The one who can stay at peace in the face of lack is the one who will inevitably possess abundance. The one who can stay at peace in the face of silence is the one who will inevitably hear the word of success. Your peace is the seal on your assumption. It is the final punctuation on your inner decree. It says, it is done, and I am resting in the finished work. You are not designed to be a warrior. You were not created to be a struggler. You are a being of light, a being of authority, and a being of infinite creative power. The armor of the world is heavy and it will fail you, but the weapon of peace is light and it is invincible. When you lay down the struggle, you are not losing. You are finally winning. You are finally stepping into the divine rhythm of your own life. You are letting yourself be held. You are letting yourself be led. You are allowing the Father within you to do the work. And the work of the Father is always perfect, always elegant, and always on time. So, take a deep breath now. Feel the tension leaving your jaw, your shoulders, and your heart. Realize that in this very moment, there is nothing you have to fix. There is nothing you have to force. The door is open. The way is clear. The end is secure. All you have to do is remain in this peace. Use it to protect your vision. Use it to quiet the storm. Use it to walk through the world as the king or queen you truly are. You are the stillness in a turning world. You are the light in the dark. You are the peace that passes all understanding. And from this place of peace, you are unstoppable. The masterclass of your life continues, not with a shout, but with a whisper of absolute certainty. It is finished. All is well. You are home. You must understand that your I am, your wonderful human imagination, is the only authority in your universe. When you move into a state of consciousness and say, I am this, or I am that, you are issuing a decree that the entire universe is legally bound to fulfill. The door swings open the moment you assume the state of already having walked through it. The world may scream that it is impossible, but the world is merely the echo of yesterday's beliefs. It cannot bind what you have already loosed in your imagination. It cannot close what has been opened in spirit. If you feel yourself to be unworthy, you are the one holding the door shut. Not because of a divine judgment, but because of your own refusal to see yourself as you truly are. But the moment you rise in awareness, the moment you say inwardly, I am already what I long to be, then the door appears. And it does not just appear, it swings open with a force that confounds human reason. Consider the nature of an open door. An open door is a transition point. It is the place where the old world ends and the new world begins. Most people stand at the door and they look at it. They study the hinges. They complain about the threshold. They ask for permission from everyone around them to step through. They wait for a sign, a signal, or a consensus. But a king does not ask for permission to enter his own palace. He knows that the door is there for him. He knows that the space on the other side is his rightful territory. You are not waiting on the door. The door is waiting on you. It is waiting for your recognition. It is waiting for your identification. It is waiting for your willingness to feel the reality of what is currently unseen. When you do, you will find that no system, no limitation, and no voice of doubt can close what has been opened in the depth of your own being. God does not consult the opinions of others to open a path for you. This is a truth that will set you free from the fear of people. You have been living as if other people have a vote in your destiny. You have been walking through life as if you need the approval of the world to be successful or happy. But in the realm of the spirit, there is only one voter. There is only one judge. There is only one cause. That cause is your own consciousness. When you are in alignment with your desire, when you have accepted it as a finished fact, the opinions of others become as significant as the buzzing of a fly. They cannot shut your door. They may try to block you in the physical world, but if you stay faithful to the open door in your mind, the universe will move those people out of your way, or use them as stepping stones to your fulfillment. The no of man cannot silence the yes of God. Assumption is the key that unlocks this door. This is the heart of the masterclass. To assume is to trust the unseen more than the seen. It is to believe in the invisible structure of reality more than the shifting sands of circumstance. When you make an assumption, you are not merely hoping for a future event. You are placing yourself in the state of fulfillment right now. You are stepping into the dimension where that reality already exists. This is why assumption is a divine act. It is the act of faith that moves the spirit from the realm of wanting to the realm of having. And once you have assumed the state and you abide in it, the outer world must conform. It has no choice. It is clay in the hands of the potter, and your inner assumption is the potter's hand. The world you see is fluid. It is malleable. It is waiting for you to tell it what shape to take. You must understand that your I am, your wonderful human imagination, is the only authority in your universe. When you move into a state of consciousness and say, I am this or I am that, you are issuing a decree that the entire universe is legally bound to fulfill. The door swings open the moment you assume the state of already having walked through it. The world may scream that it is impossible, but the world is merely the echo of yesterday's beliefs. It cannot bind what you have already loosed in your imagination. It cannot close what has been opened in spirit. If you feel yourself to be unworthy, you are the one holding the door shut. Not because of a divine judgment, but because of your own refusal to see yourself as you truly are. But the moment you rise in awareness, the moment you say inwardly, I am already what I long to be, then the door appears. And it does not just appear, it swings open with a force that confounds human reason. Consider the nature of an open door. An open door is a transition point. It is the place where the old world ends and the new world begins. Most people stand at the door and they look at it. They study the hinges. They complain about the threshold. They ask for permission from everyone around them to step through. They wait for a sign, a signal, or a consensus. But a king does not ask for permission to enter his own palace. He knows that the door is there for him. He knows that the space on the other side is his rightful territory. You are not waiting on the door. The door is waiting on you. It is waiting for your recognition. It is waiting for your identification. It is waiting for your willingness to feel the reality of what is currently unseen. When you do, you will find that no system, no limitation, and no voice of doubt can close what has been opened in the depth of your own being. God does not consult the opinions of others to open a path for you. This is a truth that will set you free from the fear of people. You have been living as if other people have a vote in your destiny. You have been walking through life as if you need the approval of the world to be successful or happy. But in the realm of the spirit, there is only one voter. There is only one judge. There is only one cause. That cause is your own consciousness. When you are in alignment with your desire, when you have accepted it as a finished fact, the opinions of others become as significant as the buzzing of a fly. They cannot shut your door. They may try to block you in the physical world, but if you stay faithful to the open door in your mind, the universe will move those people out of your way, or use them as stepping stones to your fulfillment. The no of man cannot silence the yes of God. Assumption is the key that unlocks this door. This is the heart of the masterclass. To assume is to trust the unseen more than the seen. It is to believe in the invisible structure of reality more than the shifting sands of circumstance. When you make an assumption, you are not merely hoping for a future event. You are placing yourself in the state of fulfillment right now. You are stepping into the dimension where that reality already exists. This is why assumption is a divine act. It is the act of faith that moves the spirit from the realm of wanting to the realm of having. And once you have assumed the state and you abide in it, the outer world must conform. It has no choice. It is clay in the hands of the potter, and your inner assumption is the potter's hand. The world you see is fluid. It is malleable. It is waiting for you to tell it what shape to take. We often talk about the door being shut, but let us look at the illusion of the lock. Why do we perceive locks where there are none? It is because we have been trained to live reactively. We look at a situation, we see a lack of resources, and we conclude that the door is locked. We see a lack of support, and we conclude that we are stuck. But the lock is only in your mind. It is a mental construct made of your own limiting beliefs. In reality, the door is not held shut by man's opinion, by your education, or by your bank balance. It is only held shut by your attention to those things. If you take your attention away from the lock and place it on the open door of the wish fulfilled, the lock dissolves. You realize it was never there. It was a projection of your own fear. The moment you stop worshiping the obstacle loses its life force. It withers away because you are no longer feeding it with your awareness. Think of a story of a prisoner who sat in a cell for 20 years, only to find one day that the door had never been locked. All he had to do was push. He had spent 2 decades in misery because he assumed he was a prisoner. He acted like a prisoner. He thought like a prisoner. His entire world was defined by the 4 walls of his cell, but the door was open the entire time. Many of you are in that same position. You are living in a cell of poverty, a cell of loneliness, or a cell of chronic worry. You are looking at the bars of your circumstances, and you are crying for someone to bring you the key. But I am the messenger telling you today that there is no key because there is no lock. Push the door, step out. The door is already open. The only thing keeping you in the cell is your own assumption that you belong there. Assumption opens doors because it changes your vibration. You cannot stay in the old room when you have adopted the atmosphere of the new room. When you assume the state of the answered prayer, you are generating a frequency that is incompatible with your current limitations. You are literally vibrating your way out of the old reality. The people and circumstances that belong to the old, locked door version of you will begin to fall away. New people and new opportunities that match the open door version of you will begin to appear. This is not a miracle, it is a law. It is the law of resonance. You are not fighting the world. You are simply moving into a different part of the house. And in this new room, the door is open, the view is vast, and the supply is infinite. This requires you to walk by inner sight instead of outer evidence. Walking by inner sight means you see the door as open even when your eyes see a wall. It means you feel the freedom of the other side even when your body feels the confinement of the present. This is the great divide between the one who trusts and the one who wavers. The one who wavers demands external proof before they will feel peace. They say, "Show me the money, and then I will feel rich. Show me the love, and then I will feel worthy. Show me the healing, and then I will stop worrying." But the spirit knows that this is backwards. You must feel rich to see the money. You must feel worthy to see the love. You must feel whole to see the healing. The assumption precedes the fact. The inner act creates the outer result. Your assumption becomes your atmosphere. It radiates from you like a light. When you walk with the assumption that your door is open, people sense it. They don't know why, but they feel compelled to help you. Doors that are closed to others seem to open for you. This is not because you are luckier than they are. It is because you are carrying the frequency of the open door. You are emitting the signal of fulfillment. The world is a mirror, and it must reflect the light you are shining into it. If you shine the light of the open door, the mirror reflects an open path. If you shine the light of the locked door, the mirror reflects a wall. You are the one holding the lamp. You are the one choosing the image. Do not wait for confirmation to start living as if the door is open. Be the confirmation. If you knew the door was open, how would you speak? How would you breathe? What would your posture be? Would you be hurried and frantic? No. You would be calm. You would be poised. You would be gracious. Start being that person now. Act as if the way is already prepared. Act as if the answer has already been sent. This is not pretending. This is participating in the higher reality. You are aligning your behavior with your belief. And when your inner vision and your outer behavior are in harmony, the manifestation is inevitable. The world cannot deny a self that no longer seeks permission to be. I want you to consider the authority of your I am. When you say I am, you are invoking the creative power of the universe. This power does not have a will of its own that is separate from yours. It is your servant. It is the clay that responds to your touch. When you say I am trapped, the clay takes the shape of a cage. When you say I am free, the clay takes the shape of an open field. The door is open because you have declared it so in the silence of your own heart. And once you have declared it, no man can shut it. No circumstance has the legal right to veto the decree of the God within you. You are the sovereign of your life. You are the judge in your own court. Stop listening to the lawyers of doubt and the witnesses of fear. Dismiss them from the courtroom. The case is closed. The verdict is in. The door is open. Walking through the open door means you stop micromanaging the process. You stop asking how, and you start enjoying the what. When you truly know the door is open, you don't worry about the mechanics of the hinges. You just walk through. You trust that the floor will be there to meet your feet. You trust that the light will be there to guide your way. This trust is the bridge between your inner vision and your outer manifestation. It makes the wait feel short. It makes the silence feel sacred. You stop rushing because you understand that divine timing is never late. You stop asking why it hasn't happened yet, and you start declaring that it is happening now. The world may continue to show you the old walls for a time. It may show you rejection or delay, but do not be deceived. These are just the fading shadows of your old assumptions. They are like the light of a dead star that continues to travel through space long after the star has vanished. Do not give these shadows your life force. Do not react to them. If you react, you are giving them power. You are saying they are real. Instead, look through them. See the open door behind them. Keep your inner sight fixed on the light. The walls must dissolve because they have no source to sustain them. You are the source, and you have moved your attention to the door. This is the glorious liberty of the children of God. It is the freedom from the tyranny of secondary causes. You no longer have to worry about who is in power, what the market is doing, or what people are saying about you. You have found the secret door. You have found the shortcut to reality. By changing your assumption, you change everything. You go directly to the source. You go to the end. And the end always contains the means. When you are in the end, when you are walking through that open door in your mind, the universe is forced to build the bridge under your feet. It has to. It is the law. As you move forward from this part of the masterclass, I want you to carry this decree with you. The door is open. Say it when you wake up. Say it when you face a challenge. Say it when you fall asleep. The door is open. Feel the freedom of it. Feel the ease of it. Stop banging your head against the wall of what you think is a closed door. Take a step to the right. Look with your spiritual eyes. The door is right there. It has always been there. It was opened by your Father, your higher self, before the world was. It is waiting for you to walk through and claim your inheritance. This is the place of divine remembrance, the place where you stop being the victim and you start being the victor. You were not created to stay in the hallway, begging for entry. You were created to live in the palace. The door is not a reward for your struggle. It is a gift for your faith. Accept the gift. Step through the threshold. The air is better on the other side. The light is brighter. The peace is deeper. And remember, no man, no power, no past, and no fear can shut what has been opened for you today. You are free, you are supported, you are already through. In the next part of our journey, we will explore the final surrender. We will learn how to fully let go and trust the unseen to bring the physical manifestation into view. But for now, just stand in the doorway. Feel the breeze from the other side. Know that you have made it. The myth of the locked door is dead. The truth of the open door is your new reality. Walk in it, breathe in it, be it. The Father has set before you an open door. Now dare to walk through. We have reached the final descent into the heart of the miracle. You have walked through the silence, you have buried the old man, you have assumed the end, and you have stood before the open door that no man can shut. Now, we arrive at the most sacred and perhaps the most difficult stage of the spiritual journey. We call it the final surrender. This is the moment where you must release your grip on the world of Caesar once and for all. This is where you stop trying to help the universe fulfill your command, and you let the unseen power take its throne. Surrender is not a word of weakness. It is not an admission of defeat. It is the ultimate act of spiritual authority. It is the conscious decision to give over the burden of how and when to the infinite intelligence that dwells within you. To surrender is to stop fighting the reflection and to finally rest in the cause. The world has taught you that surrender means giving up. It has taught you that to surrender is to lose. But in the realm of the spirit, surrender is the secret to winning. It is the moment you move from the frantic energy of the seeker to the calm assurance of the possessor. Most people fail at the very edge of their manifestation because they cannot let go. They plant the seed in the night, they feel the reality of the wish fulfilled, but as soon as they open their eyes, they begin to micromanage the process. They worry about the timing, they question the method, they try to manipulate the people and circumstances around them. This is not trust. This is interference. When you try to figure out how it will happen, you are signaling to your subconscious mind that you do not truly believe it is done. You are digging up the seed to see if it is Trust, real trust, is a state of being that leaves no room for panic. It is not something you say. It is something you feel in the depths of your nervous system. Many speak of trusting God, but their hearts remain in turmoil. Their minds are full of questions, doubts, and fearful imaginings. True trust is silent. It does not argue with appearances. It does not demand evidence before it rests. It moves inward, settles into the unseen, and says quietly, "It is already done." This is the essence of the final surrender. It is an inner agreement with the divine that what is promised is already fulfilled. You can only truly trust the presence within you when you have learned to trust the vision you have held in your own imagination. The moment you see the desire clearly and you feel the reality of it within, you are called to enter the Sabbath. You are called to enter the Sabbath. You are called to rest. This rest is not a sense of inactivity or laziness. It is the presence of inward stillness and the absolute absence of resistance. That stillness is the fruit of trust. Trust knows the seed is already planted and does not need your help to break through the soil. Trust allows the process to unfold without panic. It understands that a delay is not a denial, and that silence from the outer world is not abandonment from the inner realm. It believes in a divine orchestration even when the outer world seems out of tune with your vision. When you walk by sight, you will always be tossed by the winds of uncertainty. The world will show you contradictions, closed doors, rejection, and lack. Your senses will scream that things are not working, but trust does not live by the senses. Trust lives by the inner eye. It feels the truth of what is coming, even when it cannot yet be touched. This is the great divide between the one who trusts and the one who wavers. The one who wavers demands external proof before they will allow themselves to feel peace. They say they will believe it when they see it. But the one who trusts feels peace before the proof appears, and in doing so, they become the cause of the manifestation. To say you trust while feeling anxious is to live in a state of spiritual contradiction. True trust makes you calm in the middle of the storm. It makes you laugh in the face of delay. It makes you declare that you already have it even when there is no sign in sight. That declaration is not empty or vain. It is not made to impress others. It is the deep, unshakable knowing that inner reality must precede outer form. It is the understanding that the seen world is made of things that are unseen. So many claim to trust, yet they cannot rest. Hawk cannot stop rehearsing worst-case scenarios or asking when, how, or what if. Những là những dấu hiệu cho thấy tâm trí vẫn bị ràng buộc vào ảo ảnh của sự tách biệt. You cannot trust and still believe that you are alone. You cannot trust and still believe that life happens to you rather than through you. Trust reconnects you to your divine nature. It reminds you that you and the source of all life are one. The power that created the universe lives in you. That power knows exactly what you need. It knows exactly how to bring it to you, and it is always working, even in the silence, even in the dark. Trust is not built in the light of evidence. It is built in the moments where you cannot see the way. It is built when you choose to believe, despite the lack of evidence. You cultivate this final surrender by returning again and again to the inner feeling of completion. You stop waiting for something to happen out there, and you begin to feel that it has already happened within you. You stop speaking of your desire as something in the future, and you start referring to it as a current reality. This shift from future to present is the signature of true trust. You begin to say, I am already healed. I already have my answer. It is already unfolding for me. You say it not to make it true, but because you know it is true. Surrender means letting go of your timelines. It means releasing your attachment to how the outcome looks. You no longer watch the clock or count the days. You no longer compare your journey to the journey of another. You stop asking why it hasn't happened yet, and instead you affirm that it is unfolding perfectly. This kind of trust cannot be faked. It must be felt. Và khi bạn cảm nhận được nó, khi bạn bước đi trong đó, bạn sẽ bắt đầu thấy những điều kỳ diệu. Không phải vì bạn van xin chúng, mà vì bạn đã đồng nhất với chúng. To trust is to stop micromanaging the process of your life. You do not need to figure out the how. You do not need to chase signs or manipulate circumstances. Your only job is to assume the end, to enter the state of the wish fulfilled, and to remain there unmoved and unshaken. You are resting in the knowing that what you have imagined, felt, and accepted as true is already on its way to form. The outer must respond to the inner. That is the law. And trust is the bridge between the inner vision and the outer manifestation. Trust is also what sustains you in the waiting. It makes the wait feel short. It makes the silence feel sacred. When you truly trust, you stop rushing. You understand that divine timing is never late, and that what is meant for you cannot miss you. You stop asking what if it doesn't happen, and you start declaring that it has already happened. As you live in that state, life bends around your inner assumption. The world rearranges itself to match the feeling you have chosen to dwell in. Imagination shapes reality. There is no power greater than the human imagination used with intention. It is the bridge between the seen and the unseen. What you consistently imagine and feel as real must manifest. You are not merely a spectator in this life, you are the cause of it. Most people imagine unconsciously. They replay fears and rehearse trauma, and then they are shocked when their life reflects what they have been meditating on. But you cannot plant thorns and expect roses. You cannot entertain fear and expect peace. What you dwell on in your imagination is what you water, and what you water grows. This is not a matter of superstition, it is a matter of law. Imagination clothed in feeling is the seed of every event in your life. When you begin to use it consciously to assume what you desire already exists, you become the master of your reality. The final surrender is the act of becoming the one who has. You are thinking like them, feeling like them, and moving through the world like them. That inner embodiment is the signal, the frequency, and the magnetic field that draws your desire to you. Life is not withholding from you, it is responding to you. It is mirroring your dominant inner state. Change your state, and the reflection must change. Not because you earned it, but because you assumed it. This is the simplicity of divine law. It does not ask for perfection. It asks for persistence in the inner knowing. It asks for the steadiness of your assumption. You live from the end, not toward it. You think from the desire fulfilled, not toward its fulfillment. The moment you let go of needing to know how it will happen, you open the door for it to happen in ways you could baujer tung tung noi. The mind is conditioned to believe that it must figure out every detail, but there is a greater intelligence within you that already knows the way. The moment you release your grip on the need to control, that current begins to flow. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means giving over. It means surrendering your limited strategies for the infinite wisdom that dwells within your own being. It means trusting that once you have imagined it and felt it, the bridges of incident are already set in motion. The characters you need to meet and the circumstances that will lead you there are already moving toward you silently, without any effort on your part. But as long as you cling to the how, you are interfering with the process. As long as you obsess over the details, you are signaling to your deeper self that you do not truly believe it is done. Real trust is silent and still, because it knows, it lets go. You let go of the need to see it now because you understand that all things come forth in their own divine timing. You let go of needing others to validate your vision because you know that no one else needs to see it for it to be real. You let go of doubt by shifting your focus from the outer to the inner. You go back to the feeling. You go back to the knowing. You remind yourself that you did not imagine in vain. The act of imagining is the act of creation, and creation is complete the moment it is conceived. There is nothing more liberating than realizing you do not have to make it happen. You only have to allow it to happen. You allow it by becoming receptive, and you become receptive by aligning yourself with the state in which your desire is already fulfilled. You stay there not because you see evidence, but because you have decided to trust your inner reality over appearances. The longer you remain in that state, the more you dissolve resistance. The more you let go of effort, the more you enter the flow. The natural tendency of the old mind is to worry and analyze, but the deeper you go into awareness, the more you realize that none of that is necessary. When you act from faith rather than fear, everything changes. Faith acts with assurance, and it does not wait for evidence. It creates it. It does not beg for signs, it becomes the sign. To act from faith is to live as though it is already done. It is to walk into the room with the confidence of one who knows they are already chosen. It is to speak with the tone of one who already has what they desire. This is not about faking it. It is about being anchored in an inner knowing deeper than the senses. Faith is not blind. Faith sees what the eyes cannot. It perceives the unseen, and it dares to call it real. It does not waver when conditions contradict the vision. Faith says, though I do not yet see it, I know it is mine. And from that knowing, action flows naturally. Acting from faith means your behavior begins to match your assumption. If you believe yourself to be abundant, you walk in generosity. If you see yourself as healed, you carry the energy of vitality. You are not pretending, you are embodying. Fear always acts from a state of survival, but faith acts from a state of creation. There is a world of difference between the two. When you act from fear, you are reinforcing the state you are trying to escape. When you act from faith, you are strengthening the state you have chosen to live in. One leads to exhaustion, and the other leads to expansion. Faith does not require perfection. It only requires the persistence to return again and again to the truth of who you are. The journey to stop begging and truly trust is a journey inward. It is a surrender to the infinite wisdom and power that already reside within you. It is a commitment to live not by what the eyes see, but by what the heart knows. When you release control over the how and the when, you open yourself to a life of ease and grace. Acting from faith, anchored in the certainty of your fulfilled desire, transforms every step into an expression of your inner truth. Trust is the highest form of power. It is the power that moves mountains and shifts realities. This trust is your peace, your freedom, and your creative force. As we conclude this masterclass, I want you to remember that the door is already open. It is not held shut by man's opinion or by circumstance. It is only your own consciousness that opens or shuts it. If you rise in awareness and say, I am already what I long to be, then the door swings open in a way that confounds reason. You are not waiting on the door. The door is waiting on you. It is waiting on your recognition. Assumption opens doors. When you assume something to be real, you are not merely hoping. You are stepping into the dimension where that reality already exists. Abide in that assumption, and the outer world must conform. The world you see is fluid, and it is shaped by your assumptions. Whatever you accept as true of yourself begins to manifest in your experience. To assume is to trust the unseen more than the seen. Believe, and you will see. The assumption precedes the fact. Let that assumption fill your mind in the quiet moments. Let it walk with you, speak through you, and breathe in you. Do not wait for confirmation. Be the confirmation. The moment you do, a calm confidence will settle in. You will stop striving, because you will know it is already done. Reality bends to your inner assumption. Trust the unseen. Trust the vision. Trust the open door. It is finished. It is done. You are free. You have now completed this masterclass. But the real work begins when you open your eyes and walk into the world. If this journey has moved you, please hit the like button to seal your intention. Subscribe to the channel so we can continue to walk this path of awakening together. Share this message with those who are still knocking on doors that have already been opened. Your assumption is your power, your peace is your victory, and your trust is the bridge. Go forth and walk as the king you are. It is finished.